Hey toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting outrageous toy review. Today we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe Hostile Environment Specialist Airtight from 1985. Maybe I'm going a little crazy from being in quarantine, but I just felt like Airtight was such a perfect review to do today. So Airtight is dressed in a yellow hazmat suit. He's got a green helmet, green gloves, and a green chest harness on there with a few other accents. He's a decent looking figure. He's not super detailed as far as, his legs are pretty bare. Even his arms are fairly bare. He does have some nice technical details on his torso, and his helmet's kind of interesting design. We're going to take a closer look at him now. So Airtight has a non-removable helmet. This is a feature that I feel works best on Cobras. I really wish Hasbro would have made every Joe have a removable helmet. I feel like their identity doesn't need to be concealed. In the cartoon show, he was often seen without his helmet. His head design was a little odd. He sort of had like a receding hairline, which seemed weird to me as a kid, but it works, I guess. I don't think that's really what I picture underneath his helmet, though, per se. The green helmet has some black stripes on it, which is a nice little detail there to help us break it up. It features two holes on the back for plugging in his air supply, and then the front has an oxygen mask with some details sculpted in. You can also see that he's got flesh-colored face there painted where his goggles go, as well as some little brown details for his eyes. So Airtight's wearing a yellow jumpsuit. I do like the sculpted-in details on his arms of the little elastic bands they use to kind of cinch up these type of things. It's easily overlooked and a detail they wouldn't necessarily have needed to sculpt, but they did throw it in there. I think that's great. His chest has that nice black technical readout type scream here with the different Darth Vader doodads. It's got a little hose sculpted on here that goes around to his back, and he's wearing this green harness to support all that equipment. He's got a green belt at his waist, but if he's wearing a true zip-up jumpsuit, I'm not sure that he actually would need a belt. He's got nice long green gloves. They have some nice detailing to them as well that almost makes them seem armored. Maybe they're just rubberized. But he's got to keep the toxins out there. As we move down his legs are very plain. They do each feature a large pocket. They remind me a little bit of Bazooka's legs. And then he's got his green boots down at the bottom to kind of round out his uniform. He's got nice theming going on throughout him. His entire body seems to serve a purpose. Everything is tied together nicely with just the three colors, yellow, green, and black. So I give the designers a lot of credit for that. Because Airtight came out in 1985, he has peak G.I. Joe articulation. He has a ball joint at the neck that lets him look up and down and to the sides. He has a swivel and hinge at the shoulder. He has a swivel at the bicep and a hinge at the elbow. His O-ring allows his waist to swivel around. The O-ring attaches to the metal bracket in his waist to allow his legs to move out to the side. He has bends at the knees, and that rounds out his articulation, making him a very nicely articulated 80s action figure. For accessories, Airtight comes with this green compressor backpack. Note, it has this arced cutout up here as well as a peg on the bottom. The backside of it that you would see when he's wearing it, if you look at the rear of him, has some nice little details there. I like this little tank here, the little fans on the side for compressing air, one would assume. This little notch actually interacts with another one of his accessories. He comes with this black tube that actually can fit inside there. This tube, like many of the other figures in 85 and 86 that needed air tanks, he has his own unique thing, kind of like Wetsuit would come with the next year. A unique air harness, not just the standard black tube. It's actually meant to be put in here and bent to plug into his helmet. This one I have is sort of semi-permanently curved on the one side to fit into him. So let's try this. If we plug this into Airtight's helmet, there's one. Here's the other one. Now, when we put the backpack on, we're going to line up that little cutout with the center section of the tube and put the backpack on him. It looks really good. I actually really like the way they designed his setup there. It does make it a little bit trickier for him to turn his head because the hoses kind of give you a little resistance there. This looks really believable, like the backpack is supplying his helmet with air, so I love that part of this figure. Airtight's next accessory is his Sniffer weapon. This is a little device with a vacuum cleaner end here. It sucks in gases to give him information on what kind of biological and neurological and chemical threats he's dealing with. There's probably a Geiger counter built into this for radioactive threats. Some versions of media have had this be able to like shoot things out that can neutralize these different gases and things like that. It's kind of cool. As a kid, though, I got my Airtight at a flea market, and that front piece was actually broken off, which made it look a lot more like a fantasy weapon. And so for a long time when I was a kid, I just pretended he had a special weapon that just neutralized these kind of attacks by shooting. Much later, I realized that I had a damaged accessory. There is a peg on the back here for a standard G.I. Joe hose to connect the weapon to Airtight's backpack. I will point this out, it's not very common, but it is possible for the backpack to have that tab broken off of it. The Sniffer features two handles. I don't like to put both of his hands actually on them. I feel like that puts a lot of strain on his thumbs, but you can pose it so it kind of looks like he's using both hands. 1985 is arguably one of the best years in the G.I. Joe Real American Hero toy line. How does Airtight stack up against the rest of them? I think he's a pretty good-looking figure. Not necessarily the most exciting Joe. He also has a military speciality that doesn't fit into the scenarios most kids are going to play. But it seemed like every year Hasbro liked to give us a guy that wasn't necessarily a gun-toter to kind of round out the squad. In the comments down below, let me know if you had Airtight as a kid and how you used this figure in your adventures. Thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous toy review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos.